All right. I hope we have audio now. Do we have audio? I hope we do. Well, good morning again. Technology is a two-sided sword, isn't it? A two-edged sword. We started the first live stream. Everything was going beautifully, and we had a huge audience, probably about 1,100 people or so. And all of a sudden, the audio went out. I don't know why. Usually, it's the video that goes out, and in this case, we lost audio, so you could see us, but you couldn't hear us. It was like a silent movie. So I'm hoping whatever the glitch was, it doesn't glitch again. I've got good equipment and we've got a great internet connection most of the time. So hopefully we can get through this without losing audio, without losing video either. So I'm going to trudge ahead. If you missed the unboxing of Candido and Rachel's box, go back and watch the original one. It was a box of chocolate covered pretzels, handmade out in New York by Candido and Rachel. And as Susie and I said, not sure we're going to share them, but we might. So I'm going to move forward. We've got some DIY stuff to do. We've got an unboxing to do from Indiana. I still wanted to read Jenny's card as well that she sent in acknowledgement of my birthday. I had a birthday recently back in January. And let's just hope that everything goes well. No technology issues from this point forward. All right, I'm going to pause the music a little bit. Just going to read real quick a happy birthday card that Jenny sent. Again, Susie's going to share our homestead address for any of the leadership team members. We want to give you our homestead address. That way, it doesn't get sent to our renters at one of the other properties. Then we have to kind of collect it up from them. There's lag time and there's possibility of getting lost. So Susie will either text you or you can text her if you're part of the leadership team, and we'll send you our private homestead address so you can mail directly to us. But Jenny sent a real cute birthday card, and it reads, may the Lord bless you on your birthday, and may your day be filled with joy and your year full of many blessings, Jenny. And then it quotes Psalm 98:4 from the King James. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all the earth. Make a loud noise and rejoice and sing praise. Scripture is powerful. And if you don't embrace that, spend a little bit of time reading it. I think all of a sudden your eyes and your heart will open to that. And then she wrote a wonderful note inside as well. Oh, I forgot to say, she addressed it to the Wizard, which is something I think that Emma started back when, and now everyone worldwide is calling me the Wizard of Vintage Sewing Machines, Antique Sewing Machines. And that's fun. It's fun to have that title. But I'm still a student, and I'm always learning. And then Jenny wrote, Scott, I don't know the exact birthday, January 14th, but I think this is your birthday month. Enjoy the birthday month. And then she wrote, thank you for the measuring tool, caliper. I have bobbins for the class 66, class 15, along with collections of long bobbins, which is what we're going to be working with today on this machine, long bobbins, that need measuring and appointed to the proper machine. Thank you for the cow country something else. I can't read the rest of it. So anyway, a nice note from Jenny and a wonderful box of chocolates from Candido and Rachel. And now we're going to keep rolling forward while we have audio and while we have video, which I hope we keep. Yeah, I hope we keep it. All right. A little bit more music while I get situated here, and then we're going to keep rolling forward. All right. Yes, I've got my cool blue glasses on. I've got my cool blue glasses on so I can see what's going on. So let's get on this unboxing first of all. Then we're going to jump into this Damascus. Now, let me give you all a challenge here where you can win a pair of those Guggenheim shears or maybe one of those calipers that Jenny talked about. Let me ask you to be the first, other than a leadership team member, but if no one else responds, then go ahead and type it in there. But I want a quick thumbnail sketch of the Damascus sewing machine. Who made it? When was it made? When did it come out? And you haven't even seen this machine yet. Let me see if I can show it to you. So this is the Damascus sewing machine. It's a long bobbin machine. We're actually going to be winding a long bobbin today using this DeWalt drill. I'll show you how to do that. If you don't have a treadle table accessible to you and you want to test out the machine, it's fairly easy, not crazy difficult, to wind a bobbin using a household drill like this. I'll show you how to do that. I think I've done that once before. And I'll show you some other DIY stuff on this as well, how to tear down the shuttle for the long bobbin machine as well, how to thread it, and all of that good stuff so you'll know what to do. I'm also going to show you a hack for this machine because the needles for this Damascus machine are really hard to find. I'm going to show you how to use an alternate needle that's going to do a great job for you. And of course, it's made by Schmetz. So we'll get into all that. But first of all, let's start on this machine that was shipped to us from Indiana, from Jim and Gloria. And as I mentioned in the earlier live stream, I want to respect their privacy, but they've got some challenges. They've got some challenges that they're facing right now. And I would just ask that you would keep them in mind. And if you would lift them up in thought and prayer as they face some family challenges. I'm too tall. As they face some family challenges, just remember Jim and Gloria from Indiana. That's it. All right. So I'll put on a little bit of music. We're going to start ripping this open. A couple of clues on this machine. The company that made this machine would have come into existence, making sewing machines, that is, around 1872. Right around 1872. And some of these machines that they made have been featured on this channel multiple times. Not as much this one, but this is a fabulous machine. It's having troubles right now, which once we get it unboxed, we'll do a little bit of quick diagnostic checks on it and see if we can start to put our finger on what the issue is that they're having with this machine. Okay? But some music and some unboxing. Okay? Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put it on pause real quick for the music. And I'm going to tell you also that Jim shared with me when we were on the phone together, Jim shared with me that in his background, he used to do professional packaging and boxing and stuff like that. And he said, I'm going to welcome your feedback on what you think of how I did. So I'm going to share feedback as we go along through this unboxing with Jim. There's always ways to improve it, isn't there? And that's the reality when it comes to shipping. Susie and I just mailed off 2 machines, one to Super B, also known in circles as the Arizona Girl, and also known as Mindy. And we sent a machine out to Mindy, and then we also sent a machine all the way out to Montana. That machine where the back had been broken off, it had gone through a fire and all of that. If you haven't seen that live stream, you'll want to check that out. It's quite a survivor of a machine, and looks like it's brand new after workshop and paint shop magic. But I'll let Jim know. These are good, but really for stuff like this, if you're going to ship a machine, you've got to anchor this to the machine, because inevitably, as that machine is getting bounced around in the process, these are going to shift. And then all of a sudden, where you meant them to be isn't going to be the case when they arrive. So if you use little pads like this on the corners, that's fine. But just realize that you got to anchor them, tape them to the actual machine itself, and that way they'll stay in a fixed position and they'll do what you intended them to do, afford that extra protection. Okay. All right, so let's keep on rolling and see what we find in this box. So some more of these. Some more of these. I love that music. That's fun, isn't it? Some more of these. And these are great. But again, anchor them to the machine, and that way they'll stay and they'll keep that machine from being jostled around and shifting back and forth in the box. Okay? Great job so far, Jim. Great job. All right, now this is super cool. This is like a sleeve. This is like a sleeve that Jim had slid over Gloria's machine, right? Kind of slid over, but it's also like a boy in the bubble type thing. You can use this for all kinds of fun games, probably. But and all the kids that watch these live streams, because we have young ones that watch our live streams as well, are probably saying, doesn't the wizard know he's not supposed to put plastic over his head? It even says it on the bags. But this has opening on the bottom. See that? It's got an opening, so I'm not going to suffocate. I'm going to suffocate. Yeah. But this is a great idea, too. It affords a little bit more protection around the machine as well. So that's a good thing. That's a real good thing. All right, a little bit more music. Let's keep on rolling. Well, a lot of you that are faithful followers of this channel have already concluded probably who made this machine, or at least where it was made, or by what company. This particular type of case right away stands out as one of the Swedish beauties, doesn't it? It stands out as one of the Swedish beauties. It's got that unique design that they came up with to house their machines, to give them portability, but also to give them protection as well. So let's pop this open and see what kind of Swedish beauty it might be. And it looks like they also, the owners also attached the keys to the case as well. I don't know if it's locked or not. Doesn't look like it. So we're able to pop it open straight away. So a little envelope in here. I'm assuming it's the deposit. Yep. Yeah, it's a deposit from Jim and Gloria to cover the project. Some additional padding inside of here as well. You can kind of see that. Jim is trying to make sure that the machine can't jostle around inside of the case, which is exactly the right thing to do. So I'm going to see if I can wiggle these out. And we'll get this machine out of the case so we can do a little bit of checking on it, see what's going on with it. A little bit of bubble wrap on the side. That's always a good thing. You know, there's always ways to improve it, make it a little bit better. Got a floating needle here. I'm not sure. This must have been an extra needle that was in the case at some point. You see it right there. I'm going to toss that away because it's been bouncing around in there. And this is actually a real short needle. This is not for the Husqvarna Viking machines. It looks like it's more like for one of those little toy machines. One of those little toy machines. It's a real shorty. And when we look at the different needles today on this Damascus machine, you're going to see how varied needles can be. These are the needles we'll be, the one on the left is the needle we'll be working with today. The one on the right is a standard Schmetz needle. So I'm just going to show those to you. This is on the Damascus machine that we'll be using shortly. And I've got the measurements written down as well to contrast them. But you can see the needle that we're going to be using on this Damascus machine is noticeably longer than a standard 15 by 1 Schmetz needle. And that one is a 9014 needle, the one that we use all the time. And then if you compare those needles to this one that I just found in the case, see if I can line it up as best as I can. This needle that I just found in the case is even shorter. It's even shorter than the other two needles. I don't know if that's in focus or not. I can't tell if that's in focus. There, maybe that's better. I don't know. But at any rate, the little needle I just found is a real shorty. So I'm going to throw that to the side. And we'll learn more about this Damascus in a little bit. If no one did a research on it yet, I talked about this in the initial live stream that we started a bit ago that lost audio. Go ahead and do some research and post it in the live chat on the history of the Damascus sewing machine. And Damascus is spelled D-A-M-A-S-C-U-S. D-A-M-A-S-C-U-S. I feel like I'm doing like a cheer or something like that. But yeah, anything you can find out about the Damascus, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll share the details with you in just a little bit. Also, who made the machine as well. So you've got that history in your back pocket. If you get into some of those Facebook groups or other places that are talking about machines and they really don't know what they're talking about, you'll be able to educate them on the history of the Damascus machine and the manufacturer that made it. Also, who that manufacturer made this machine for. There's really three parts to this story. There's three parts to this story. Well, let's get back on the Viking, first of all, and see what we can learn about this machine and why it has been sent from Indiana, the Fort Wayne, Indiana area, all the way here to Kentucky. See if we can figure out what's going on with it. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but when I just reached in here to go underneath the arm, the light had dropped down as well. The light on the Husqvarnas, they pull down. So when you ship these, make sure you put a little piece of painter's tape on here to keep this from dropping down. That way it doesn't get wiggled around and banged around in the process. So I'm going to push that back up and we're going to keep on rolling. Okay. So all in all, Jim, I think you did a good job in packing this Swedish Beauty. There's little tweaks here and there that I would have done a little bit differently, anchoring some of that padding to the machine, just to make sure that that they don't ship. And certainly I would have put a little bit more protection around the machine inside of the case. Candido and Rachel, who recently were the recipients of that really cool Nordic Husqvarna machine, they can attest to the way it was packed inside of the case. I pad the outside of the case, I pad the inside of the case, and I just give it every opportunity to survive the brutal beating that it gets. Even going just to New York, it gets quite a brutal beating. You can imagine if it's traveling all the way from Kentucky, Montana, where we just shipped that machine back, to go through the fire and the dropping and everything else. That's over 1,500 miles. And we've shipped much further than that, as far as 8,000 miles. So many opportunities to be damaged. Every single step you take to safeguard the machine, it pays off in dividends because of all the effects on that machine in the transport. So this happens to be a Viking Husqvarna 21E. We don't see a lot of the 21Es on this channel. In this particular one, I'm going to look up the birth date for it. The serial number, the Viking, the faceplate on the right side, and that looks like an R2126849. So R2126849. Let me see if I can look up the year of manufacturing real quick on my phone. Some of you remember Hans from Norway. Hans had come across a secret list of the dating for the machines. So I'm going to see if I can find that real quick, and we'll look up this particular serial number, and we can at least get the manufacturing date for it. So this particular machine, I just looked at my list and looked at the serial number brackets, and this particular machine that came from Fort Wayne, Indiana area from Jim and Gloria, it is born in the year of 1962. And if any of you watching this live stream want to contact me with your serial number for your Swedish Beauty, then we can do a lookup for you and see if we can get you a date. I believe on my list I can go all the way back to the 1800s, I think. Let me double check. Actually, my list goes back to 1925. So I can go all the way back to 1925 and then all the way up until my birth date, 1964. So that's a pretty wide, it's going to cover most of the Swedish beauties that are the green machines, the 21As, the 21Es, the 19Es. I should be able to date all of those machines, but if the owners didn't know it, their machine was born back in 1962. 1962. So what is that? 64 years old, right? 64 years old. Yeah. Okay, let's keep rolling. I'm going to put on a little bit more music. That way we know our audio is working. And then I'll set this up and we'll do some initial checks on it, see if we can diagnose what's going on with this Swedish beauty. So what I'm checking initially is whenever you get a machine like this and you don't know much about it at all, other than what the owners have told you, you always want to hand turn that balance wheel. You may have seen me doing that just to make sure that that needle is clearing the hook and that we don't have any contact with the raceway with that needle. Maybe the needle is bent. Maybe the hook timing is off. There's a variety of things that could be going on right now that we're not sure about. The other thing that the owner told me, or I should say Gloria's husband, Jim, told me, is that it seems like when you engage the machine, it's locking up. And that could be a product of what's happening with that gear reduction on the right side of the machine. And all of the green machines are going to have that gear reduction feature. If it's working well, it does a great job. If it's not working well, it can cause issues in how the machine tries to run. So we'll try, now that we hand turned it, we'll try firing it up real quick. We'll try some gear changes on it and see what happens. If the machine locks up, I know exactly what to do. I may not do it during the live stream, but I'll go ahead and address that issue once I start working on it. So let's see, we're getting some good turn. Making sure there's a cam in the back of the machine. On these Swedish beauties, you want to make sure you have a cam in the back of the machine, because what the cams do is they set the swing boundaries on these green machines. If you don't have a cam in the back, the needle will swing too far and it'll hit that throat plate opening and damage your throat plate and break needles, and could cause other issues with your hook assembly as well. So always, always, always on these green machines, make sure you've got a cam. It looks like Jim and Gloria sent some extra cams as well. I'm guessing that they probably have ABC. ABC was the standard issue for these machines. So here's a C cam, and it's a revision. It's a C1, which means they had the original C series cam come out, and then they revised it. So it's going to look like this. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera or not. Let me move it again. There we go, finally. So if you have a cam like this and it says only C, then it's the original C cam. When you have a C1 like this, it means that it's a revised cam. So it very likely will have different stitches that they decided to add when they revised the cam. So this is a C revised one, and then we have an original B cam, and we would have sewn most of these stitches on Candido and Rachel's machine when that was recently presented before it headed out to New York. Our camera's having a little bit of trouble today focusing, it looks like. The camera is just not wanting to work today, maybe further away. There we go. So there's an original B cam. And then I'm guessing in the back of the machine, I didn't look at it closely, but it very likely is going to be a C cam. And again, that was the standard package that came with these Swedish beauties. They had an A, B, and C cam, possibly a revised B cam or revised C cam. And then later on, Husqvarna ended up developing the D cam and the unicorn of unicorns, the E cam. So if you have an absolute complete set for your Swedish beauty, you're going to have a total of 5 cams: A, B, C, D, and E. So yeah, let's see what we have in the back. I think it's going to be a C cam. And it's not. It's not a C cam. It's actually an A cam. And it's a revised cam. Oh, that's right. I'm rattled from us having trouble on the first one. We already have the B and the C, and I showed you the C revised that has the 1 or the I after it. So we already have the C and the B. The B is a regular one. And then we've got an A revised cam as well. Looks like it's been damaged a little bit. It's got a chip. It's got a chip right on the top of it, but that shouldn't affect it. It should still work well. And this is an A revised cam. Let's come out and see if that makes the camera happy. So you can see the AI. Looks like an AI or maybe a Roman numeral 1. So this is going to be a revised cam. And you can see the little damage on the top of it right next to the A there. So we've got the standard set of cams. That's great. I'm going to put this back in the back again so we can test the machine. It's real sticky right now, real sticky. And in position 5, I've covered this in all the live streams and everything. This little slider right here, so you can get a little bit closer to it. This little slider right here, you can take it between 1 and 5. And 5 is going to be your preset for zigzag. So all of the cams, whether they're a B cam, an A cam, or a C cam, or a revised B cam, it doesn't matter. They're all going to have a zigzag built into the cam itself. So that's why you need the cam in the machine if you're going to use it for anything other than straight stitching, because the cam will set that swing boundary for the zigzag and all the other stitches that are on that machine. So we've got cam A revised in the back right now. See if we can fire this up and just take an initial look of what the machine is doing. I'm not getting any locking right now. Now we're going to engage that slow gear on the side. I'm going to pull this out. I am getting a warm smell or a hot smell from the machine. I'm going to pull that slow gear out. You just grab this right here. And when it's in, you're going to be going full speed. Pull it out. We should be able to reduce it down to 1/5 the speed. Let's see what happens. I can tell that this isn't adjusted correctly. This is not adjusted correctly, which might be causing it to slip on a position and locking the machine up. So that's one of the things I'll look at when I go through the machine. I go through about 140 steps on a Swedish Beauty. I'll be going through and double checking the calibration of that slow gear on the side, making sure that it's set up correctly and that it's not slipping out of gear and causing the machine to jam up, which is what Jim described to me was happening. So, and you notice right now, the balance wheel is locked. And I've explained that before. When you get that gear reduction, which it's in right now, before you can move that balance wheel, you've got to disengage that slow gear and push it back in. And once you push it back in, then that balance wheel will get a little click when that clutch kicks back in, and you can turn it again. And hopefully that's not the issue that Jim and Gloria were experiencing, as far as jamming up. But again, I don't think it's adjusted correctly right now. It doesn't seem to be adjusted correctly. So, yeah, I'm actually seeing some movement from it right now. Yeah, I'm getting a real warm smell coming off of this machine. A very warm smell. We've got either the belts. There's two belts on this machine. There's going to be a vertical long belt right in here, going up the side of the pillar. That's going to be coming off of that gear reduction, and then there's going to be a short belt coming from the motor output pulley up to the gear reduction junction here. So you have two belts that are coming together right in this region right here. And they're probably, most people think tight is the best. They'll tighten them too much, and then it creates a huge amount of drag on that motor, causes that motor to overheat. And that's probably what we're getting right now. And I showed you in one of the recent live streams how we tore this down. Remember that? We tore this all the way down the raceway area. It's got that floating hook system in it that Husqvarna developed. So it moves around, and it's called their jam-free raceway. It's designed so that the hook is actually moving left and right and up and down constantly in the sewing process, allowing that heavier thread to pass through the raceway without getting jammed. So if you have that movement on your hook system on your Swedish Beauty, that's exactly as it should be. Exactly as it should be. So right now we're getting an adequate response from the machine, other than it smelling like it's really hot. The gear reduction is working, which again takes it from full speed down to 1/5. The needle is clearing the throat plate, and the machine isn't making any excessive sounds when it's running. It's not running real smooth right now, but it's not as bad as some of the Swedish Beauties I've had come through the workshop for sure. And the 21E is going to, you can see it from the back nomenclature plate, maybe. See right here, it's going to have, this is going to be one of those more rare 1.5 motors on the 21Es. A lot of the 21Es came with a 1 amp motor, but you're going to have one or the other, a 1 amp or a 1.5 amp motor. Yeah, nice machine, real nice machines. And again, from 1962. So let's pivot now away from the unboxing. We did a little bit of diagnostics on this. I'm going to put the bobbin case back in and get this cleared off of the table, get the table out of the way. And now we're going to pivot over to that Damascus sewing machine that belongs to a local lady. Her name is Glenda. And this machine is going to be taking a journey to, I believe it's a granddaughter that's going to be getting this machine. And she wanted it to be set all the way up. And then they're going to put it back in the table. And then they're going to transport it to wherever this family member is and present it as a surprise gift. So it stays within the family. Yeah, it's. I mean, that's really the beauty of sewing machines, isn't it? They last generations. They last generations, and multiple generations are able to celebrate the greatness of that machine once it's running well. So let me put on some more music while I make this transition, and then we'll focus on Glenda's Damascus machine. And hopefully, if you haven't gotten the details and the history on this yet, I'll share those with you, and you can type them in the live chat. We'll also talk about the company that made the machine and who they made it for. That's all part of the proud history of this sewing machine we're going to be checking out next. I'm just checking real quick. We do have audio still, don't we? Are we still getting audio? I hope. Are you able to hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up or somebody if we're still getting audio. I want to make sure we haven't lost audio again. Okay, thank God. Thank God. All right, I'll put on this fun music and I'll make this transition real quick. All right, I'm going to pause that great Latino music. I love that style of music, don't you? It's just so much fun. So I'm going to scroll up real quick in this live stream. Now we've had two live streams this morning, and just see if anyone typed any info in there about the Damascus sewing machine, who made it, when it was made approximately, and who the manufacturer of that machine was. That's really the stuff that we need to know about the machines so we can appreciate them more and have a greater understanding about the history. And that's what's lacking in a lot of the circles on Pinterest and on Etsy and on Facebook is people will talk at a real high level about the machines, but they never really get intimate. They never really understand the depth of the history of the machine and the company that made it. That's what we cover here on this channel. I want you to really appreciate and fall even deeper in love with these machines when you know what their roots are and where they've come from, right? Yeah. So I'm going to share a little bit about that history. First of all, I'll scroll through and just see if anyone put anything in the live chat about it. Also, I'll say hello to Kathy King. It looks like Kathy King is part of this live stream, along with Teresa and Tim from the Thorpe, Wisconsin area. Great to have you all here. Jenny as well from Ohio. And I think that's, is that Aaron Allen, Asylum? I love it. I just recently mailed something out to Aaron out in Vermont, out in that lovely, lovely state of Vermont. She had come across, I think, her grandmother's 99K and felt inspired after she watched that recent presentation I did of the 99K. Some of you may have already seen that one. Otherwise, you can go back and you can look at that live stream of that 99K. It was one of two machines that a lady from Tennessee brought Susie and me. And so Jenny needed an adjusting screw for the bobbin winder, I think it was. And then we also included a little shirt and all that. And so now she's proudly wearing, I don't remember if I sent her a Kentucky or a cow country shirt, but either way, she's got a little bit of the workshop now out there in the beautiful state of Vermont. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad you like the shirt. Nice. Let's see. Yeah, Susie typed in the live chat about her Sashiko machine, that machine that has Japanese roots, and it's supposed to be a sewing machine that does like a hand quilting stitch. Susie has gotten so many gray hairs from this machine. It has just been a major challenge. And she tried communicating with Baby Lock, and they weren't real helpful. They were a little bit defensive in addressing the questions that she had. And then they were like, well, you can only use our needles that we have the Oregon Sewing Machine Company, produce for us. So Susie and I, being rebels like we are, we're going to be coming up or trying to come up with an alternate needle for the Sashiko hand stitching quilting machine, blah, 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 by Baby Lock. Why? Because when you buy needles from Sashiko, or when you buy needles for this machine from Oregon, you're paying $6 a needle. $6 a needle. That's ridiculous. And then they're giving, I think, some really, really weird advice. They're saying never change the needle unless it breaks. Now, all of you that have been sewing longer than a day know how important it is to have a sharp needle. Don't even get me going. I'll let Susie rant in the live stream about the advice that the Sashiko Baby Lock people gave her. It was just bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre. So we're going to be trying to do a live stream from Susie's sewing suite in the near future once we get these needles that we're going to adapt, and we'll see if we can offer the world an alternative to paying $6 a needle. Somebody's getting rich off of that, I'm telling you. And I don't know who it is, probably Oregon Needle Company. So at any rate, crazy. All right. Yeah, Kathy's right. Kathy typed in here. Uh, yeah, and Jenny's right as well. The road to Damascus, about the conversion of Saul to Paul, right? Where he a bright light, or I believe probably a lightning bolt, strikes him off with a horse, and he's actually heading here. I'll read a little bit of that history. So, yeah, Saul in the Bible is actually a persecutor of Christians. He wants to kill them all. He despises Christians. And as in the Damascus story in the Bible, talks about the dramatic conversion of Saul of Tarsus, later the Apostle Paul, on the road to Damascus, where a blinding light from heaven appeared, and Jesus spoke to him, leading to Saul's transformation from a persecutor of Christians to a follower and a preacher of the faith. Talk about a dramatic change, huh? A pivotal event recounted in the book of Acts, Acts chapter 9:22, marks the beginning of Paul's missionary work, though his actual conversion and baptism took several days in Damascus with the help of a disciple named Ananias. Ananias was involved in bringing him to a full transformation and becoming an apostle. But what an amazing story, transformation. And whoever wrote that, it was made by, I think it was, yeah, Kathy King wrote, it was basically made by the National Sewing Machine Company, which is absolutely correct. Let me give you a little bit more history on the machine and who it was made for. He gave a lot of the good history of this. I'll give just a couple more dates, but Kathy King did a brilliant job of capturing the roots of this machine that we're going to be sewing on in just a little bit. Let me see if there's any other good mornings I need to say or anything like that. Let's see here. Oh, I thought Susie was typing a date in there, 1943. She was talking about how many people were watching. Almost 2,000 people. God bless all of you that circled back after we had the technical difficulty with the audio in the first live stream. And now we've got even more folks that have joined us. What a blessing. What a neat blessing. Let's see who else. Yeah, I think I greeted everybody that's in the live chat. We've got so many more sitting in the shadows. And that's always the case, isn't it? We have people that will watch this channel and join us on live streams and on years and years and years before they ever take that step of joining the live chat. So let me just encourage all of you watching right now, almost 2,000 people joining us on this busy Tuesday morning, probably a work week for many of you. I'm so grateful, and I know the leadership team is so grateful to have all of you in this live stream today, and especially those of you that we had technical difficulties on the first one. We're so grateful and honored to have you here. I hope you'll consider, when you're comfortable, joining us in the live chat, introducing yourself, talking about where you're from, the machines you have, blah, 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 all of that good stuff. And then we can really get a chance to, I got the camera pointing in the most weird position right now. I don't even know what I was aiming at. I was aiming at all the sewing materials or something. So, yeah. Oh, and real soon, I should share with all of you, real soon, this week, I'm going to be real busy, real busy getting a featherweight. And some of you that follow us closely on Facebook, you saw the video that I shot of this featherweight before it went to Wisconsin to go through Paint Shop Magic. It had about an inch thick of mold and rust on it. It was just a disastrous mess. And now after Workshop Magic and Paint Shop Magic, we'll be presenting this machine real soon, but I have to go through all the hand polishing and the cleanup of all of these parts that are taken off of the machine to get it ready to go through the paint shop and then also etch all of the paint off of it as well so that I can get all those parts back on it again. So this is going to be a major project this week, getting ready to present this machine from Illinois that belongs to, let me actually get her name right. Give me a second here. Bear with me for a second, y'all. I deal with so many machines. The customer's last name is Goodwin, and her first name is Chris. Okay, I'm finally back. I'm back. I should have had coffee today. I didn't have any coffee. So Chris Goodwin, this is a family treasure that somehow was put in a storage area where it was literally destroyed. It was literally destroyed. All of this patina right now that you can see was covered in about this much mold and rust. It was just a disastrous mess. That video is on Facebook somewhere. I posted it. So now I have to go through when I do all the paint work. I get all this paint etched back, and I have to get all the parts polished and put all the parts back on again, so that you'll see this machine popping up on a live stream in the next week. Hopefully, I'll have it ready by Valentine's Day. That's what I told Chris. I'm going to shoot to get this reassembled, set up, adjusted, calibrated, all the blah, 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 and then be able to present this featherweight on Valentine's Day. So that'll be a special thing for that family to be able to have that machine back and for it to have gone through an absolute rebirth, Okay, so the Damascus sewing machine, let me grab that note that I have. So as Kathy King shared, let me come down a little bit here. As Kathy King shared, the Damascus sewing machine was produced for Montgomery Ward by the National Sewing Machine Company. And it would have been manufactured in the window, and they didn't follow their dates very carefully. They didn't document things extremely well, but they would have been making this type of machine for Montgomery Ward from about 1890 until around 1926. So we know that this Damascus that we're going to be sewing on today, that belongs to Glenda, would have been made in that window of time from 1890 to 1926. And it would have been sold in premium cabinets, oak, walnut, and the cabinets that it would have been in would have been like the cabinets that were made at that South Bend, Indiana plant that I visited and that we did the fundraiser for. You remember that? We did that fundraiser for the History Museum down in South Bend, Indiana, and I took you on an outside tour of that cabinet factory right in the center of South Bend, Indiana, and I talked about how ornamental and just works of art those cabinets were. And that's the level of pride that a lot of these companies poured into not just their machines, but to their cabinets as well. Let's see what else I can tell you. So it was private branded through the National Sewing Machine Company for Montgomery Ward. It was their higher end machine. What is higher end back in the latter 1800s to the early 1920s? Probably $300 to $500 is what the purchase price would have been for this machine. Now, if you take $300, let's just work with that number. If you take $300 from the 1920s, somebody do the conversion and type in the live chat what kind of money we're talking about today. $300 back in the 1920s would have been the equivalent of how much money today? It was a major investment, I'll tell you that. A major, major investment. And this machine that we're working on today, I'm going to be turning it by finger, and it's set up as a treadle machine. And these machines would have become electrified right around 1927. Around 1927, the Damascus would have then received an electric motor, and you wouldn't have to treadle it anymore. But I think the The treadling is really quite amazing for those of you that have that rhythm and can do it. It's cast iron, and it's housed in a very elaborate wooden cabinet again that they would have had with that. I'm not sure what kind of cabinet Glenda has for this, that's going to be transporting this machine to that family member that's going to get it. Again, I believe it's a granddaughter that's going to be getting the machine. But these were a real high-end machine that Montgomery Ward would have been selling, or that they would have been trying to sell. So looks like Susie typed in $5,400 today. Now, I know that this Sashiko machine that has been giving Susie so many headaches, originally when that Sashiko machine, this hand quilting style machine by Baby Lock, was sold, it's probably around $5,000. And even today, at least in my world, $5,000 is a major investment to make in a sewing machine. So you can imagine as they were presenting this through the Montgomery Ward catalog and through other venues, maybe in their stores, people walking in and looking at this Damascus machine and saying, $300? Holy cow, it's a beautiful machine, but that's probably our annual income. That's going to be a huge investment, even if we do it on installments, to be able to afford a machine of that caliber that Montgomery Ward was showcasing back in the day. Very expensive machine. Now, we talked a little bit about Damascus, and Kathy King did a brilliant job of sharing some of those details with us, giving you a little bit more. Now let's talk about the National Sewing Machine Company that made this machine. They were based in Belvidere, Illinois. And they were originally attached to the Eldridge Sewing Machine Company and the June Manufacturing Company as well. So there were really three companies that came together underneath the banner of the National Sewing Machine Company. It was the Eldridge. Let me spell it because my tongue's not working well today. Eldredge, Eldridge Sewing Machine Company, and the June Manufacturing Company that would have come together with the National Sewing Machine Company to produce over 300 different private branded machines. There was an earlier live stream where I showed you a list of all the names of private branded machines that the National Sewing Machine Company made. And a lot of you were just blown away that one company would private brand that many machines, but they did. And they were based proudly in Illinois. They came on the scene probably right around 1886, and they manufactured until right around 1957 when they went out of business. They went out of business right around 1957, and then the Free Sewing Machine Company, FREE, picked up the reins and kind of kept the wheels turning a little bit. But a lot of the Japanese machines that we've shown on this channel that came in post-World War II put a lot of these companies out of business because they would undersell making a machine similar to this Damascus machine for just a fraction of the cost. And there just wasn't any competing with them anymore. So, but that gives you a little bit to chew on as far as this Belvidere, Illinois-based company that would have made this machine that's going to be passed on to another generation now by Glenda after I get done presenting it today and get it back to her to give to this family member. Yeah. And if anyone has additional facts you want to post in the live chat, feel free to do that. I went over it very quickly because I know that between the first live stream and this one, we've been running probably going on almost 2 hours, or at least hour and a half. Oh, and actually, the recent facts, whether we like it or not, we're all using AI now, artificial intelligence, right? They get into the Google searches, they get into whatever search engine you use, AI always tries to stick its little toe in there and be a part of that search. So I actually am going to correct myself. I told you that the National Sewing Machine Company made over 300 private brands that were then distributed by companies like Montgomery Ward. Well, according to this most recent AI search that I did, you can actually double that number. They actually made over 600 different brand names with different badge marks during the course of their operation from 1886 until around 1957, when they were dissolved and the Free Sewing Machine Company took them over. So imagine this company, and a lot of private branding goes on today, right? You can walk into a Walmart and you can see their brand, right? What is their brand called at Walmart? Also, Sam's Club has their own members only brand or whatever the heck it's called. All of these major distributor type companies are using private branding now today as well. And there's companies behind the scenes that are making these products. Just like the National Sewing Machine Company was really behind the scenes. They didn't take any upfront credit for it. They did all this private branding for Montgomery Ward and a litany of other companies that wanted to use their services out of Belvedere, Illinois. And now the AI search that I just did yesterday before the live stream says over 600 brands were made by this company down in Illinois for companies that then resold them and rebranded them under their name. Wow. Wow. That's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. All right. Let me put on a little bit of music. I got to get something to drink. My throat is starting to go a little bit raw. And we'll take a look. And also, if one of the leaders, I know that Susie usually will do it, but if one of the other leaders would be so kind as to pop over to the Cow Country Facebook page and post the links for the progress shots on Glenda's Damascus machine, I would really appreciate that. I probably have almost 300 photos on that in 3 different groups of photos showing the process that I took this Damascus through to get it to the point that it is today. And I think that would be helpful for people that watch this later as a video to see those progress shots. It also gives you insights into this machine and how you might be able to service your own Damascus, or maybe a Damascus off-brand that the National Sewing Machine Company would have put somebody else's name on, but maybe the body of the machine and the mechanical components of the machine are nearly identical. And in that case, some of these tips and these DIY things I'm going to show you today, the do-it-yourself things, will give you insights on how you can better maintain or restore your Damascus equivalent machine so that it's running well again, right? Yeah, that's what we want. We want a well-running machine so you can have fun with that sewing machine. And right now I'm going to have fun with a sip of tea to restore my voice, I hope. All right, I'm going to pause this. This is almost kind of like secret agent music, isn't it? It's kind of secret agent music. So the first thing I wanted to show you is if you have a machine like this that you acquire and you don't have the benefit of having a table that you can install it in straight away, where you can use it as its intended design as a treadle machine, but you want to be able to try to sew with the machine just to see if it works. Winding a long bobbin without the resource of a treadle table and a treadle belt can be almost an insurmountable task. I mean, you've got this little tiny barbell bobbin, and you're thinking, how in God's green earth am I going to get this bobbin and get that thread on this barbell bobbin so that I can actually test the machine out? Well, I've got kind of a MacGyver approach to how you might consider doing that if you don't have access to a table to do it with and don't have access to a treadle belt. You're going to take your household drill like this DeWalt, and you're going to actually install the long bobbin or the barbell bobbin into the end of the drill. Yeah, let me get my glasses on and I'll do that. So I'm going to open up the aperture of this wide enough that I can slide the barbell bobbin in. Got to go quite a ways. And you want to get it fairly tight. And then once you get it installed, I guess I didn't have it tight enough. All right, let me try that again. I don't think I stuck it in deep enough. I'll stick it in a little bit deeper. That's fun. All right, I'll tighten it better this time. And try to get it reasonably straight. You're not going to be able to get it absolutely straight in there. But try to get it reasonably straight. I'm going to tighten it a little bit better this time. There we go. And I won't rev it up as much. There we go. That's pretty good. And then just line it up in front of your machine. And I've got an auxiliary thread on here. I've got auxiliary thread on already on the machine. I took the main thread off. And I'm just going to line up the drill with the top of this thread. I'm going to give it a couple of whiner rounds. See if we can get it started. Now we're going to have to flip this around in the process so we can get it distributed evenly on both sides. And then you're going to have to guide it a little bit with your hand as well. There we go. I got it locked in place now. So what I'll do now is I'll try to wind this bobbin. I'm going to get all my sew-offs out of the way and everything. I got a very busy workbench today. I'm going to try to wind this, and you'll see me distributing the thread evenly on here. And then I'm going to have to reverse the drill, and I'm going to have to flip it around so we can even the thread out on the other side. There we got a good layer on there, and you can see it's nicely evened out. So it's going to work real well in the shuttle. But now we have to loosen the drill all over again and flip it around and do the same thing with the other side. And then we'll have to reverse the direction of the drill so that we can continue to put the thread on facing the same way. Hope I'm going the right way. I think I am. Let me just straighten it out a little bit. I got it kind of angled up. Now I have to reverse the drill, so I'm going to get the drill sewing the opposite or spinning the opposite way now. It's a tedious process, but at least it gives you the opportunity. And this is exactly the way I wound the bobbin for Glenda's machine for this live stream today. I used this DeWalt drill to get that thread on the bobbin and get it as evenly distributed as I possibly could. Now I have to reverse the drill again. Stop right there. Now I would wind this a lot fuller, but just for purposes of illustration, I'll just do one more side so we can get it even on this side. Put it back in again. Reverse the drill again. And I did this kind of hastily, but you get the idea. And now we have a long bobbin that we've been able to wind to get ready for sewing without the benefit of having a treadle table or having it set up with a treadle belt. Now, how do you put this thing into the long shuttle and how do you service a long shuttle? That's really our next step, isn't it? So let me lower the camera down and I'll give you a quick DIY on that. We set this long bobbin down that we just wound. Give that thread a cut. Now here's a long bobbin, and all long bobbins, if you don't know this, all long bobbins or long shuttles are unique to the machine or to the machine class. So you can't just grab a shuttle for a long bobbin like this randomly and put it into your long bobbin machine. It's not going to work well because the length of it, where that shoe is that has to fit into the cradle to allow it to move back and forth in the sewing process, they're all going to be positioned differently. The design of the shuttle is unique to the machine and the setup. So if you get a machine like a Damascus and it doesn't have the shuttle with it, you might want to pause on that purchase until you make sure you can find one, because sometimes it's a hunt and peck process of finding a shuttle that will work with a particular long bobbin machine. But I'm going to show you, first of all, a little bit of DIY on servicing this shuttle for this long bobbin. Okay. We get my glasses on. Now on a shuttle like this, there's going to be a tension band that goes from here. Am I in the shot? Goes from here all the way to here. Now in the sewing process, there's a lot that collects underneath this band, and it starts to inhibit the thread in the sewing process and being fed from the shuttle as it's going back and forth in the machine like this. So we want to try to remove this and service it. I'm going to make sure that I have a magnetic tray nearby because it's a very, very tiny screw. And we'll see if we can take this screw out, clean it, and then put it back together. And then I'll show you how to thread this as well. I'm also going to show you how to thread this Damascus because it's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky. And the other advice I'll give you is whenever you're taking a band like this off of a shuttle, and my Susie found this out firsthand with that Sashiko machine. We talked about that in a recent live stream where she was trying to adjust the screw on the bobbin case for her Sashiko and didn't realize it was under a lot of pressure. And when that screw came to its last thread, that screw basically went, pew! And we never did find it. We never did find it. So whenever you're loosening a screw like this, just gently put your thumb gently on top so that that band can't spring and launch your screw. And then you'll be on your hands and knees like I found Susie in her sewing room trying to find a tiny, teeny little screw that's about a 0.5 millimeter long. It's ridiculous. All right, so let's get this screw out. I'm going to keep my finger on there so it doesn't spring on me. Get to a certain point, I should be able to put it in our magnetic tray. And this one is going to have a much longer screw than most of them. This one's quite long. This one is quite long in comparison to other screws for shuttles. Look at how long that is. I could measure it with a caliper and tell you how long it is. Almost 8 millimeters. It's a little bit over 8 millimeters, this screw. And that's unusually long. That's unusually long for a shuttle. So that just shows you how they didn't make them all the same, did they? They all made them uniquely different. Now we're going to remove this band. Just gently pull it up. And there's a little hook on this end right here that kind of fits into the shuttle casing itself. And this one is not as bad as Glenda's was. Glenda's, if you look at the progress shots on Facebook that I posted of Glenda's shuttle when I took it apart, oh my goodness, there were like woodland creatures living in there. It was just unbelievably filthy. This one's not that bad, but we're going to go ahead and clean it anyway. We'll use rubbing alcohol to go over it and get all of that gook and grime off of there. And we're not going to be lubricating this at all other than inside where that long bobbin is going to go. So I'm just going to swab it a couple times, get that gook off of there. We're also can ask the question, when you're showing using rubbing alcohol, could you just use a Dremel? The answer is yes. You know, I like to show different approaches to cleaning things. Not everyone has a Dremel. Not everyone has the attachment that you would want to use to clean it. So we're just using rubbing alcohol on this, but you could certainly use a Dremel with a wire brush to clean it as well. Try to get as much of that off. A hand wire brush as well. It's brass. This one's had kind of a rough life, you can see, but we can get into some of those nooks and crannies a little bit. Swab over it again with that rubbing alcohol. And again, guard the tip on this. You want that point to stay nice and sharp, because as it's going back and forth in the sewing process like this, it's got to be able to grab that thread, and that point is going to help. So don't dull this. Don't get any mess up your sewing process. We're going to clean the inside. And again, I'm doing this for illustrative purposes. If I were doing this when I did it on Glenda's, slow and demonstrate it quickly for you. So we're going to swab the inside to get all the gook off that might be inside of there as well. And you can see with little effort what we got off of that shuttle on the inside and the outside. And dirt on any part of your sewing machine is going to slow that machine down. It's going to cause it to have performance issues. So the more you keep your machine clean and properly lubricated, the better it's going to run. We also have to clean this tension band as well. And this is kind of a thin metal. So what I usually do is I kind of put it in the flat of my hand and give it support. Accidentally bend it or warp it in some way. Clean both sides of that as well. Get clean. Clean the other side, even though it's not making direct contact with the thread. We clean both sides of it because that dirt can migrate, can't it? Dirt doesn't stay in one spot on your sewing machine. If you neglect cleaning one part of your sewing machine that you're able to clean, that dirt eventually is going to move to a more critical area like your raceway and all of a sudden affect your sewing performance dramatically. So now we've got a clean shuttle. We've got a clean tension band. And now we're going to reassemble it, which is very, very easy. And then we're going to get that tiny, well, semi-tiny screw back in. So as we're holding the shuttle, we right away can tell where the hole is going to go for the screw. So we're going to go on this end. We're going to slide that into that little hole and then rotate it down. Keep our finger on there to keep it aligned. And then we're going to get that screw back out and see if we can put that screw back in, get that threaded back into place again. And this is going to be your adjusting screw, isn't it? This is going to be your adjusting screw so that you're able to change the tension on your shuttle. And your shuttle, again, is going to be pulling down to define that top stitch, right? The shuttle pulls down and defines the top stitch. The upper tension is going to pull up and define the lock stitch. So they're in a constant tug of war. There we go. I've got it fairly snug, but unless I used it in the machine, I can't tell what my tension needs to be other than just a gut feeling. So now we're going to take that long bobbin, and you want the thread to be coming over the back side like this. See how that's coming over the back side? And then we're just going to take it like this with the shuttle, and we're going to drop it in with the thread coming over the back side. Just like that. Oh, I forgot one step. I got ahead of myself. I apologize. We're going to take another Q-tip swab. We're going to take another Q-tip swab before we insert that barbell bobbin, that long bobbin, and we're going to put a little bit of sewing machine oil or a sewing machine oil kerosene mix inside of there to allow that long bobbin to turn more freely. It's also going to add just a little bit of a slick coat with that kerosene in there to keep this from rusting. These shuttles tend to be real prone towards rusting. So we're going to try to put that little layer of kerosene and sewing machine oil mix inside of there and inhibit rust as well. And you notice in doing that, we got even additional dirt off. See that? We got even additional dirt off that we hadn't gotten off with that rubbing alcohol. Now we can insert our long bobbin, again with the thread coming over the back side. We're going to drop it into the shuttle. And then we have a track right here. If you can see that, we have a track. We have to draw it all the way down, and then we have to draw it back up. I'm going to try to do it real slow. You'll put your finger on the top and your thumb on the bottom of the point, and we're going to draw it down. And then we're going to draw it back up. And that's all you do to thread the shuttle is you draw it down along that little opening and then draw it back up, and then it seats in underneath that band that we just had, and you drop it into the machine just like this with that thread centered on the shuttle. Okay, that's it. And when you drop it in, you can go with the butt first or the point first, whatever feels more comfortable. I usually go with the point first, and I slide the little catch on the carriage into this little shoe opening on the bottom of the shuttle, and then I tilt it down. And the same thing when you're taking it back out to get it back out of the machine, because these long bobbin machines don't have an ejector. They don't have that bobbin ejector like on the 99K. So you push on the point and you pop the butt of it up, and then you just pull it right out. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful. Gives you a couple more tips on the long shuttle and how to maintain it, how to clean it, and how to thread it. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to set that right there for right now. All right, let's just real quick take a look at the threading of this Damascus, because that's a little bit of a booger. It's a little bit of a booger. Not a big booger, just a little booger. So obviously we come off the top. It's our thread coming off the top. Right here we have our first thread point right here. And you'll notice if you look real close, there's a little notch opening right there. We have a little notch opening right there. You've got to draw your thread through that notch and then down underneath this tensioner ring right here. So we draw the thread in, and then we pull the thread down underneath this tensioner. And then we're going to bring that thread from there underneath this set screw that holds the faceplate on right here. And we're going to draw it into our upper tension. This is our upper tension right here. We'll pull that thread in from the left and then draw it around to the right. And then you'll see that from there, on the bottom of the tensioner, our thread then drops down to our little check spring right here. We draw our thread underneath this little check spring, and then we come up to our take-up arm, and we thread the take-up arm from right to left. We go through this thread guide. We have another thread guide right down here, just above the needle. And then we thread this needle from left to right. Now, if you have the benefit of an original needle for this machine, which is ridiculously long, you can see it right here in comparison to a Schmetz needle. A standard Schmetz needle is going to be about 46 millimeters long. See if the camera will focus on that. A standard Schmetz needle is going to be right around 46 millimeters long. And if you have a mechanical caliper, you can check that. The needle we need for this Damascus machine that was made by the National Sewing Machine Company is really more in the industrial class. It's going to be considered an industrial needle because of its length. It's going to be right around 51.5 millimeters long. So you can look at the two needles side by side, a Schmetz 9014 needle and a needle that we need to use in this Damascus machine. It's going to be noticeably longer. Can you see that? Noticeably longer. Now, if you try to use a Schmetz needle in this machine, you're going to have a lot of skip stitches because it's not going to sync with that shuttle at the right depth as it does its double bop. You'll see that when we're sewing with this, that needle bar is going to be doing a double bop where it's going to go down, it's going to come up a little bit, it's going to go back down again, it's going to pop back up. That's all the timing feature of the long shuttle system. It's got to time that shuttle going from back to front and then front to back again so it can catch that thread and complete the sewing process. So if you don't have an original needle that they would have issued with this machine back in the 1920s, what do you do? Well, what I usually do is I usually look at Schmetz and see if they have any solution that I can apply that will work. And guess what? They do. In their industrial class needles, I'll show you the actual case that you need to order. And thank God you don't have to modify this needle at all, other than making sure when you install it, because it doesn't have a flat side. It doesn't have a flat side like the original needle that would have come with this Damascus. The original Damascus needle had a flat side. The flat side goes to the right, and you're good to go. With the Schmetz alternative needle, you're going to have to rotate it so that the scarf is pointing to the right. The scarf is that indentation where the hook, or in this instance, the long shuttle is going to pass by and grab that thread right next to the needle. It's a little indentation on the needle itself. When you look at the needle, see it looks like it's cut in. That's your scarf. And you need to make sure when you use the Schmetz alternative needle that you point that scarf to the right, which means your long groove, which is on the opposite side, is going to be on the left. Okay? I don't know if I can show that to you on the needle or not with the camera, but I'll try. I'll actually take one of these needles out. This is the needle that you'll want to order if you've got a National Sewing Machine machine like this, the Damascus or its equivalent. It's eventually going to focus. I know it will. There it goes. This happens to be a size 16 or a size 100. And then it's for an industrial class machine, which the Damascus, by definition, is an industrial class machine because of the needle that it needs. You can buy these online. They're not expensive. They're certainly a lot cheaper than Susie's Baby Lock, whatever that Sashiko machine. I think you can buy a pack of these for around 12 bucks, right around $12. There's 10 of them. And they're a fabulous, fabulous needle. The thing that Susie and I'm guessing all of you share the same thoughts. The thing that we love about Schmetz is they're so durable. We can beat them to death. We can literally beat them to death in a live stream, and they keep on performing. And when you start with them, they're sharper than a razor blade. Not just the leather ones. All of the Schmetz needles are ridiculously sharp. Ask Susie how she feels about the organ needles for her baby lock Sashiko machine. The organ needles, yuck, yuck. It's like sewing with a blunt needle. They're horrible. And if anyone from Oregon is watching us right now, you need to make them better. You need to make them like a Schmetz needle, razor sharp, so that they slice through that material and give us beautiful stitching. They don't pound it like a hammer. It's ridiculous. So let me see if I can pull one of these out, and I'll show you the scarf just so you're not confused by that, hopefully. So when we look at a needle like this, I'm going to hold some leather up so it'll have a background to it. But on the bottom of the needle, just above the eye, I'll see how close I can get and get it to focus. You're going to see an indentation. See where it's cut in like that, just above the eye? And if I rotate it, you'll see that it's, see that? See how it's cut in? Just above the eye is called the scarf. That's where your hook on your sewing machine is going to grab the thread. So when you install this Schmetz alternative needle, make sure that that scarf is pointing to the right. On the opposite side of the scarf, you're going to have a long groove, and that's got to be pointing to the left. Okay? Yeah, I think you guys are smart. You know what I'm talking about. Let me put this one back in. It's always easier getting needles out than putting them back in. It's like when you grab that thing on the shelf at Walmart or the equivalent, and you say, oh, that's not the one I wanted, and you try to put it back in, and they got those spring things that push the product forward. It's like wrestling a cow trying to get that product back into place again, isn't it? It's ridiculous. It's almost as bad trying to get a needle back in, but I'm going to get it. Maybe. There we go. That's close enough. Yeah, but these are the needles you want for this machine. And a lot of the National Sewing Machine machines that are long bobbins, shuttles, systems, you know what I mean? They're going to be taking the same needle. So just check it against your original needle you take out of the machine. It should be, again, approximately, for this machine, it should be approximately 51.5 millimeters long. So these are 51.5. A standard Schmetz needle is only going to be about 46 millimeters. Okay? All right, enough on needles. But hopefully you find that helpful. All right. Let me set these to the side. Let's actually put this machine to work. After all the blah, 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 let's put this machine to work. And this long shuttle machine from the 1920s is going to produce on average right around 8 to 10 stitches per inch at their longest setting. It's not going to get all the way down to 6 stitches per inch, even though the plate shows you 6 stitches per inch. You're going to only get down to about 8. And depending on the material and the feed, you might have an average of around 8 to 10 stitches per inch. Hopefully that's helpful. That way you know your machine is operating well. All right, let me rotate this up. Get that out of the way. And I think we'll start with some cotton. I've got 2 layers of cotton here with a stiffener in between. We'll slide that into place. And this presser foot attachment, you'll notice, is different. In order to remove the presser foot attachment, you've got to rotate this ring. Where am I pointed? I should point down here if I'm telling you about that. You've got to rotate this ring so that it's clockwise to rotate it down. I might have that backwards. Hold on a second. Okay, reverse that. You've got to go counterclockwise, lefty-loosey. You got to go lefty-loosey to rotate this ring down, and then you can pull that presser foot attachment out as I did to clean it. So lefty-loosey, and then you slide it in between the little peg on the bottom, and then this screws clockwise to snug it up. And also you want to make sure when you tighten it up, it tends to pivot just a little bit from side to side. You want to make sure that that foot is lined up with the hole so that you don't catch the edge of that needle. So as you tighten it, you kind of keep a thumb on the presser foot attachment and snug it up. Make sure it's lined up on the needle correctly. All right. So let's crank off a row of stitches on this using our alternative Schmetz needle. And this is pretty straightforward as far as the layout of the machine, but I should walk you around it nonetheless, shouldn't I? This is our presser foot adjuster right here. We just screw it in. It's also got a needle bar adjuster as well that I don't recommend you goof around with. Both of them can be lubricated. There's an oil point right here on top. You can drop oil down to lubricate that needle shaft, and then you can lubricate around the rings here. The whole faceplate will come off. As you'll see in the photos, the progress photos on Facebook. You have to remove the screw down here. You have to remove this screw down here, and you have to remove this screw right here, up here, this one, and this one, and the whole faceplate can come off so you can service that area behind here as well. Okay? If you look at the progress shot, you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. I think you will. All right. And to adjust upper tension, you just screw this in or you unscrew it, and it just presses against that thread to create that drag. There is a pin release in here when you raise the presser foot lever that will allow you to advance the thread as well. So it's really quite progressive for the era that it was made, having a pin release. A lot of the earlier ones, you had to literally pull the thread against the tension of the upper tension because there was no pin release on some of those designs. All right, let me give this a go. Oh, I'll show you this as well. This is our bobbin winder here, where if we had a treadle belt, it would go over the balance wheel right here, go through here, and then it would rotate that pendulum back and forth to distribute that thread in lieu of a DeWalt drill. So if you don't have a treadle table and you want to use a treadle machine, just pick yourself up a drill and you'll be good to go. Here's our stitch length adjuster. We can go all the way down to 24 stitches per inch. And according to this, we can go all the way up to 6 stitches per inch, but we're going to be closer to 8 to 10 stitches per inch. And we just loosen this, and then we can move it forward. We can move this forward or backwards. And that'll adjust our stitch length. And you just screw it down to hold it into place. Our clutch release is right over here, where if we're actually winding a bobbin on the machine, we just hold the balance wheel, we loosen the clutch, and then the needle will not move. Okay? Yeah, I almost feel like I'm kind of insulting your intelligence because we've covered this on a lot of other machines, but some of our new friends that are in the audience right now may have never seen this before. So for their benefit, I'm trying to take it down, to a rudimentary level and cover all the basics so that people know what to do if they get a machine like this. Okay. Let's crank off some stitches. And I've got a pretty good variety of materials we're going to sew on today. We've got leather. We've got 2 layers of leather for certain types of leather. And then eventually at the end, I'll put on some music and we'll sew around in a circle as well. Okay, but for right now, I'll let you listen to the rhythm and watch that double bop on the needle. I think it's kind of cool. See if I can back up a little bit. You can watch the mechanics of the machine working. Okay, here we go. Double bop, double bop. That was easy enough. And I didn't show you, I have a little bit of a cheat going on today. Previously, I've been turning that other treadle, I turned it by hand or I turned it by finger. I realized I had this in the workshop and I put that in the balance wheel and turn it this way. Works much nicer and it's easier on the fingers too. I think it's like a little wooden dowel or something. Yeah, I don't remember where I got it, probably at a thrift shop. And because we're threading from left to right on this Schmetz needle, drawing the thread back and to the right is probably the best way to pull it, just so that it advances easier. Give that a clip. And we'll take a look at our stitching, see how our upper tension is doing and how our shuttle is doing as well. Looks like we're getting some real good results. This is our first stitch row right here. It's going to be our top stitching. See if I can hold that up to the camera and hopefully the camera will cooperate. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. And again, this is using an alternative needle. And that's where a lot of these manufacturers, I've shown you in the owner's manual before, where it says only use this needle. They didn't envision that the manufacturing of those needles would stop and then people still have a machine, but they have no needles. So we need to be innovative sometimes in coming up with alternatives, to still be able to use our vintage and antique sewing machines and get great results like this. Beautiful stitching using a contemporary industrial Schmetz needle. Contemporary industrial Schmetz needle is what we're sewing with right now. Here's our lock stitching on the back. Our presser foot level must be a little bit high. We're getting a little bit of puckering, but we're getting some gorgeous, gorgeous stitching on our lock stitching as well. So we're not going to change that upper tension right now. Getting some real good results sewing through these 2 layers of cotton using Glenda's 1920s Damascus sewing machine. Yeah, beautiful stitching. So what should we do next? We've got canvas. We've got all kinds of leathers. Maybe we'll do leather next. I've got some genuine cowhide here. This one I'm probably going to have to turn by hand. It's going to be about a little bit more than 8 ounces of leather, almost 10 ounces of leather. And we're going to be sewing through it using this Damascus. You could do this easily if it were set up in a treadle table, but when you're turning it by hand, it's a little bit of a challenge. So you're going to see me sewing a lot slower going through this sew off, a lot slower. I'm going to slide that underneath. And we'll see if we can get through these 2 layers of genuine cowhide, almost 10 ounces of leather, almost 10 ounces of leather on this 1920s treadle machine that was made by the National Sewing Machine Company. As Kathy King said, for Montgomery Ward. You would have gone into the Montgomery Ward catalogs or into their stores, and you would have seen this Damascus on display there. And then your jaw would have dropped when you would have saw what they were trying to sell it for. Major, major investment. Like Susie said, what was it, like $5,000 or something like that in today's money? All right, let's see if we can get through this leather now on this Damascus long shuttle machine. We don't see these long shuttles very often. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, that's thick leather. That's thick leather. Turning it by hand. Yeah, if Glenda had this set up in the cabinet, we would be racing down right now. We'd be racing down, but we're not racing now. Not even close. I feel like I need music on. Hold on, let me get some music on here to inspire me to hand crank this puppy. Hold on. Just going to pause this real quick. On the last couple turns of the balance wheel, as I finish off this line of stitching on these 2 layers of genuine cowhide, about 10 ounces of leather, I'm going to give you a special treat to look inside and see that shuttle do its magic as we're sewing with it. I'm just going to take off this front plate, and you'll be able to see this shuttle going back and forth in the sewing process to accomplish these final stitches. I'm just going to move my hand towards the back here. See, it's grabbing you probably can just barely see that thread is passing between the cradle and the shuttle to complete that hook. There we go. It's kind of fun to see that operate, isn't it? It's really quite fascinating, quite ingenious, whoever came up with it, in my opinion anyway, quite ingenious. We'll draw this to the back. See how we did on the light sew off at all, but we're dealing with a Schmetz industrial needle and sharp, aren't they? I think they are. From the side, definitely not a light sew off. Top stitching, absolutely gorgeous stitching. Take my glasses off. It's all blurred right now. Folks, that is some gorgeous, gorgeous stitching. Again, through 2 layers of genuine cowhide. And the Schmetz alternative needle we're using is an industrial needle, but it's not a leather needle. And it's doing a brilliant job of giving us a perfectly formed page 34 stitch. Just absolutely gorgeous. How are we doing our lock stitching? Haha, got to pull that nap back to even see the lock stitching, don't we? Just a beautiful, beautiful stitch. So beautiful lock stitching, beautiful, gorgeous top stitching. And again, we're averaging probably about 8 to 10 stitches per inch. We're not going to get down to that 6 per inch range. And how do we know that? We can check with our caliper. We can check with our caliper right now and get an idea of how we're doing with these 2 layers of leather. So I'm going to grab my caliper. I'm going to set it at 1 inch, right about there. Hold it up to our material. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're getting right around 9 stitches, right around 9 stitches per inch. It's kind of like 9.5, but I'm going to round it down. So right around 9 stitches per inch with Glenda's Damascus machine. And that's really, really good. These presser feet for the Damascus machines are nice feet, but they're a little slick. I would, if I had a machine like this and I were sewing it on it all the time, I would almost be inclined to take a fine grit sandpaper and rough up the bottom a little bit, just so it bites that material a little bit better. The feed dogs are good, but the presser foot has a real slick surface on the bottom. And sometimes you can take like an 800 grit sandpaper or higher and just lightly buff over the bottom of that presser foot. It gives it just a little bit more bite to grab that material and feed it more evenly. Then we might get closer to averaging 8 stitches per inch, maybe even 7, but we're never going to get to the 6. Just not going to happen. But a lovely, lovely sew off on here with 2 layers of genuine cowhide, almost 10 ounces of leather, almost 10 ounces. Let's go through another type of leather now. This is going to be that hardened leather that I've talked about. This stuff is incredibly rigid. It's used, I know that Teresa and Tim have a wonderful horse. Her name is Izza, I think, isn't it? Izza? IZA, if I remember correctly. But at any rate, those of you that are familiar with horses and all the implements that you need to have a horse, the reins and all that sort of thing, this is going to be like that leather they use on reins and some of those other heavier applications. It's a real dense, hard to pierce leather. We're going to be going through 2 layers of it. It's again about 10 ounces of leather, but it's going to be a lot more, a lot higher piercing threshold to get through this stuff. I'm really going to have to turn it hard with my hand to be able to get us through this, even with that Schmetz needle. But we're going to see if we can get through these 2 layers of this hardened leather. It's a type of cowhide leather. And if we can do that, get through all of this, that's going to be a major, major accomplishment, especially if we can maintain stitch quality too. Let me see if I can get underneath there. We'll play a little bit more music to inspire my hand to turn this. I'm also going to adjust our presser foot pressure up just a little bit higher because this stuff's going to be harder to move. Give it a couple more turns. So if you're brand new to sewing, any of you that are more experienced or have been a part of this channel longer, briefly explain in the live chat, what is the big deal about presser foot pressure? What's the big deal about presser foot pressure? What does it affect if you don't adjust it appropriately? What impact can it have? Whatever you want to share in that realm, please do that and help our friends that are in the shadows right now learn about that. We have almost 2,000 people in this live stream, many of whom have maybe never even sewed before. They're just thinking about trying it out. Maybe they want to have a side business to generate more income for their family. Maybe they want to sew with leather. Maybe they want to do some bags or whatever it is they want to do. The more tips and the more insights we can give them on how to utilize that sewing machine to the max so that it'll serve them and not frustrate them, the better it'll be for them. So tell them about presser foot pressure. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? All right, a little bit more music and we'll sew down this line as well. I want to get some more Latino music. More Latino music. I love Latino music. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it. Oh, I love that music. Beautiful music. So we just went through this hardened leather, 2 layers of it, probably about 10 ounces of leather. You look at it from the side again, probably going to be about 3 to 4 millimeters thick. Where am I? There am I. Probably about 3 to 4 millimeters thick. That's as thick as a belt, folks. We just sewed through a belt, hand turning it with Glenda's Damascus machine, a long shuttle or a long bobbin machine, a vibrating shuttle machine. I'm going to get it right eventually. A vibrating shuttle machine with a long bobbin in it. And you're able to see that action near the end as well, that long shuttle, vibrating shuttle doing its magic, going back and forth with the timing of the needle bar with that double bop where it goes down, it comes up a little bit, it goes down, it goes up a little bit, just perfectly. And the result is when a machine is timed right, you get gorgeous, gorgeous stitching. Look at these stitches. Just amazing. And that's through about 10 ounces of leather, folks. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at the thickness of that again from the side. And here's our lock stitching on the back. I got to kind of pull it back a little bit with that nap. We got some beautiful lock stitching. See if I get closer there. Beautiful lock stitching as well. And with a hardened leather like this, I'm looking at some of the lock stitching, and we could make it better. With a hardened leather like this, even with a sharp Schmetz industrial needle, if you get a little bit of a loosiness about it, see how it's a little bit loopy there? It's not as tight as it could be. It's a beautiful stitch. It's a lovely, lovely stitch. But we can make it better by, because this is such a dense, high threshold piercing leather, and we're going through 2 layers of it. We might have to bump up our upper tension just a little bit. But all in all, a beautiful, beautiful lock stitch as well with this vibrating shuttle machine from the 1920s. Really, really a lovely stitch. We'll look at it like that also. The camera's a little bit finicky today. Just a little bit finicky. Yeah, I would bump up the upper tension just a little bit. But a lovely sew off through a lot of leather. A lot of leather. Very, very nice. Wow, very, very nice. Well, we are down to a canvas sew off and our final finale sew off, where I'm going to sew on genuine cowhide, a single layer of it. But I've got to get that cowhide ready first. So I'm going to grab my Guggenheim shears and I'm going to cut around this leather. Now, this is probably about 4-ounce leather, probably about 2.5 millimeters thick. Watch how these scissors, these shears, cut through this stuff with no difficulty whatsoever. I mean, it's just like a breeze. And the more you use these Guggenheim shears, if you have a pair, you know what I'm talking about. The more you use these, it seems like the sharper they get, the sharper they get. But I need music to cut by. That was perfect timing with that music. I did not plan that, but I love it. I love that. Let's take a look at this canvas. We have 2 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas that we just sewed on Glenda's Damascus vibrating shuttle long bobbin sewing machine. I finally got it right there. Vibrating shuttle long bobbin sewing machine from the 1920s, made by the National Sewing Machine Company out of Belvidere, Illinois. And as Kathy King shared again, they made it for Montgomery Ward, but they made about 600 other private branded badge marked machines for other companies over the years. I mean, there were so many of their machines out there, people didn't know who made them. But that was their thing. They did all the private branding and private badge marking. Yeah. Looking at this one, I'm almost thinking we might have to, on this canvas, I'm just looking at our canvas sew off. On this one, usually we battle the issue of the lock stitch, that upper tension is pulling hard enough up. But on this canvas sew off with 2 layers of this U.S. Army grade canvas, we have a situation where our vibrating shuttle, remember how I showed you how to clean that one? I showed you how to clean that one, and I just randomly took a screwdriver and kind of spitballed how far to tighten this in to have the proper pull to define that top stitch. Well, if we were going to be sewing canvas all day long, making tarps or whatever it is we're going to be making, we would have to back off that upper tension or increase our vibrating shuttle tension to get a quality stitch on canvas. I'll show you what I mean. And a part of that might be as well that on this Schmetz alternative needle that we're sewing with, it has a much longer scarf than the original needle. And that could also be affecting us while we're sewing this particular type of material. But I'll show you what I mean. That top stitch is not as defined as we would want it to be. It's decent, but we can make it a lot better. I'm trying to get the camera to focus here. You'll notice that it's not as defined as we would expect it to be. So as we go across, some good looking stitching all in all, but a little bit loose, some tilting of the stitches, which again tells us that vibrating shuttle is not pulling down hard enough. Our upper tension is set too high. So in order to define this better, so it's consistent all the way across, we adjust our upper tension down, or we take our vibrating shuttle and we turn that adjusting screw that we removed for cleaning and we bump it up. And it would tighten these up and give us much better definition. using the needle and the setup that we have. Much better definition. It's passable, but we can make it better. Don't you agree? We need a little bit more pull down from that vibrating shuttle to snug this up more. Now, if we look at the back, our lock stitching looks really, really solid, even using this canvas material. Some nice looking stitching on the back, but we sacrificed our top stitch a little bit by getting some tighter and more better defined lock stitches. So canvas is a tricky material. Most of you know that if sewn with canvas, any of these woven type materials, they are tricky to sew with. You have to anticipate you're going to have the right setup, the right needle, the right thread. You're going to have to probably do some tension adjustments. But since we're only doing a one-off, this Damascus did an excellent job of laying down some quality stitching that we would simply have to fine-tune a little bit to get it exactly the way that we wanted. Say if we were doing a canvas bag or something like that, we would have to experiment a little bit, get it just the way we want it, and then that would be our sweet spot for sewing that material with the setup that we have. It was also interesting to me that when Susie got done with her call with the baby lock people that made this Sashiko machine, that they kind of talked down on the Coates and Clark sewing thread just a little bit. I'll let Susie share a little bit more in the live chat about that. I think Coates and Clark makes a real fine product for versatile type sewing, especially their XP brand, where you can use it for hand sewing, machine sewing, all kinds of different material sewing. But the baby lock people kind of were pushing and poo-pooing it a little bit. So if Susie wants to share any of that conversation, she can do that. But certainly there's be a little bit of adjusting we would do with this U.S. Army grade canvas to get it at the level that we expect it to be at. But for our purposes, for a one-off today, excellent, excellent job. Excellent job. Well, we are to the final sew-off now of sewing in a circle. And I'm hoping I can get a little bit of speed. Doing this by hand. I'm going to be turning the balance wheel like this, or I'll try to use my dowel, see if that wooden dowel will allow me to crank it off a little bit faster. And we'll put on some fun music to do that with. Again, my thanks to everybody that persevered with the technical difficulty of the audio going out on the first live stream. I'm going to leave that one up anyway, because we had a chance to acknowledge the very thoughtful gift that Candido and Rachel sent Susie and I with those chocolate covered pretzels and all the yum stuff. And we covered a couple other things briefly before we lost audio. But those of you that circled back and joined us for this second part 2, thank goodness everything has gone smoothly. We're going to finish up this final sew-off and then go back to enjoying the rest of your Tuesday. Again, this Saturday, Valentine's Day, I'm hoping to have this featherweight ready that's going to be heading back to Illinois, the same place that made this Damascus machine near the Belvedere area in Illinois. We're going to be finishing up that featherweight that was just absolutely destroyed with mold, mildew, rust, everything possible wrong with it. We're going to present that in a live stream and give that little princess of singers an opportunity to show her stuff so that Chris in Illinois can celebrate this family heirloom literally being resurrected from an unthinkable state. Anyone else would have just thrown it in the garbage, but I just can't see that happening in the workshop. Can you? We're going to take a machine that is hopeless and helpless and make it great again. It's what we do. It's what I do. All right. God bless everybody. And thank you to the leaders for taking care of the family. Thank you to all of you that joined us today. Almost 2,000 people joining us for this live stream today to celebrate this amazing Damascus vibrating shuttle machine made for Montgomery Ward by the National Sewing Machine Company. Let's get some music on. I need inspiration.
I'm still going, folks. I'm still going.